Alright, today we're going to take a look at Dawn Wells, who played Mary Ann in Gilligan's Island. Immediately looking at her, you can see she's got a female oval face. Her mouth is not wide. She's got a small feminine nose. Her eyes are close set. There's a definite female slope to her shoulders, which are also very narrow, and she's got very delicate collarbones. This does not look like a transgender who's falling apart with age. This looks like a woman. There's a softness about her face, again, even with shoulder pads, very small shoulders. Her hands don't look like they could cover up her face to this point, probably more around here, which is a female dimension. Smiling, her mouth looks wider, but it isn't as wide as we see on MTF trannies. Again, this is a very essentially feminine face. The features are all close together. The shape is very feminine. She has more delicate hands here than after she's aged, which is perfectly normal. And she's got very short forearms and upper arms as well. There's a softness to the knees, and you can tell from the angle at which these legs are curved, she's got wider hips, wider pelvis when sitting down. Look at the width of the shoulders compared to the width of the hips. The hips are clearly wider than the shoulders, so that's already a very female dimension. You can see there's a defined Q angle, meaning that her legs are coming down at an angle from the wider pelvis, which men's legs typically would not do, and especially not in such a pronounced manner. She has a small widow's peak. Again, the length of her limbs looks consistent with being female. The shape of her legs looks very female to me. Again, the shape of her shoulders, very female. This figure looks completely natural. There hasn't been any kind of alteration going on here. And having aged, you can tell she's aged naturally as a woman. Still has the same essential body dimensions, and has matured in the way that a biological female would. She has small feet as well. Now she also has a gentle female energy in the eyes, and while she's a slender person, she also has some essential female body fat, which you can see here. Again, the shape here is looking very natural. And as I've mentioned before, on women, the lower part of the leg will typically have a gradual curve, unlike on men, who, if a man's in shape, he will have a more defined upper portion to the calf, and then less down here because he won't have the same level of fat all the way down as a woman would. Alright, the length of the arms in comparison to the torso. If you follow the rule of the crotch level, on women it's supposed to reach to about the palm, and you can see it's clearly doing that here. Again, she has essential female body fat, even though she's a slender person, and it gives her a kind of soft, smoothed out look in general. Now here, she's leaning against this post, so her back doesn't have the same arch as you would imagine a female should have if she's standing straight. But you can also tell when women tilt their pelvis forward in this way, typically the front of their abdomen, their stomach will kind of curve outward more, whereas typically the bend will be more backward. So you can see that here, the lower part of her abdomen extends outward a bit. And still, you can see that there's a curve, a gradual curve from the lower back down to the back side. Here again, the same essentially female-looking thighs, and I mean in general she's a very small-looking person. Again, small female mouth. Does look like she has a little bit of a brow ridge, but I believe this is a small one and consistent with Caucasian females. Again, the oval face comes to a point, softness in the face, delicate collarbones. Even on a slender person, we don't see any boniness and jutting out. Again, you can easily see that she's got a correct female figure in all of these shots. The waist indentation is above the navel. You can see at every angle that the hips do curve outward. It's not an illusion of perspective or angle or pose, it is merely there. Again, Q angle, the female leg shape and joints looking as they should on a woman. Here you can see she's got a small rib cage, and that is much more common on women. She's got a fairly long forehead, and while she does have, here it does look like her cheekbones are a little more pronounced than you might expect. Still, the shape is overall very oval, and I would say this is accountable to heritage. Again, you can see distinct curve. In every one of these photos you can see that she's got the correct female curve to the hips. Again, from every angle you're seeing proper female curves. And here you can see that her forehead is mostly rounded and straight up. So the appearance of a stronger brow bone here is just that her forehead extends a little bit past, which is merely one kind of facial trait you can have, which there's nothing male about this forehead. Narrow shoulders, you definitely couldn't fit 3 head widths on these shoulders, which is a male dimension. So now she does seem to have fairly large ears, but again, those kinds of traits are not 100% indicative of a gender, because different facial features, different appendages, everything will be different sizes on people of different genetic heritage, and dependent on the nutrients they have growing up, as well as the hormonal interference in their environment. So again, she's a very petite person, and you can see the Q angle here, the correct shape of the legs. This is just so obviously a real female that if you can't see that, you have been bamboozled in the opposite direction. There's nothing jutting or really defined about her face. The bone structure in the female face will become somewhat more pronounced on particularly thin people, but still it won't have the sharp, angular, jutting look that a man with a strong facial structure would have. So this is a very feminine face. Again, she doesn't have a defined brow ridge. She merely has a somewhat extending forehead, but it is still perfectly female shape. Again, she's a slim person, but you can see the essential female body fat. Yes, this person does have a female energy, and again, all the facial dimensions look correct for a female. If you look closely, it does look like you can see some cellulite, which is far more common on women. Now, cellulite is caused because the lattice work of collagen and elastin under the skin is weaker in women, so fat cells are stored in a kind of honeycomb lattice work under the skin, and as with everything, this structure is weaker in females, and so fat will kind of bulge through and be visible at the surface under the skin, and that is what causes cellulite. So as well as having a weaker kind of lattice work of collagen and elastin under the skin to hold this fat, women also have thinner skin than men, so it's much easier to see cellulite on women. I've heard that there are some men who have it as well, but I've never actually seen that. Whereas even on women who are, fit, physically active, I have seen it before. So here you can see that her waist begins high, her hips are properly curved up here in this region, as well as she has a proper curve to the thigh and where everything meets the hip bone, as well as the top of the pelvis and the hips surrounding. This looks like a female rear shape to me. Again, softness to the joints. Very essentially female body. Small feet, small hands, proper female curves. Well, that looks like a biological male next to her. The comparison of the sloped shoulders and the very squared across straight shoulders. Adam's apple, lack of an Adam's apple. Shorter neck, longer neck. Big hands, and big feet, small feet. Everything. Here, this just looks very obviously like a man and a woman to me. Again, she's got a soft female energy in the eyes. And, usually when the MTFs age, you'll see something strange going on in the throat, but this is a completely normal, older woman kind of throat. Now, she seems to have aged pretty well, but she does have crow's feet, which many people in this community have been saying is much more of a female trait than male, so she's got a lot of that, meaning she's been smiling a lot through her life, and also a lot of times women will get fine lines more easily than men because women's skin is thinner and has less oil in it, so it's prone to aging a little more easily when exposed to the elements and so forth. But still, there's a female look, and she hasn't aged badly at all. I'm not sure how old she is here, but, And again, the high waist, this essential shape is just, it's completely correct for a female. Slope to the shoulders, delicate bone structure, proper wide Q angle. The arms come out at an angle from the shoulder to accommodate these wide hips. Again, curve to the forehead, female shape to the face, very delicate wrists and bone structure, as well as, again, the small hands. You never see anything strange going on in the neck that shouldn't be going on. Now, if you saw an MTF in this pose, you definitely wouldn't see this kind of curve and softness to the leg, because they don't have it, because they're typically very lean, bony, and muscular. But, you can see that she's got a much more female kind of shape to her legs. Again, with the short arms, the small hands, there's a softness to the hands, no tendons or anything sticking out, which is more common on male hands, but you see it a lot on the MTF hands as well, because they have a stronger bone structure and because they're so thin. So again, nothing strange going on in the neck. Now the figure, everything just looking very, very natural and female. Okay, now in this shot, bending forward, you can still see that she's got the proper dual curve to the back. The upper back will curve in somewhat, and the lower back you can see it's curving out over here from the waist to the rear. So you can even tell from this shot that her spine has the correct curve to it for a woman. Again, there's a softness to all of the limbs, despite her being, she's not a large person at all, no. Again, here you can see the proper curve to the back. You can tell that the waist and the hips do what they should, coming in where they should, expanding where they should for a female. Sorry it's blurry, but again, here you can perfectly see the curve of her spine. Again, it's a dual curve there. Back curves in to the waist level, where the waist indentation lies, and then from that same level, the lower back will curve out, as it should on a female. So Dawn Wells is clearly a biological female. I have no question in my mind. This is a biological female. And that's that.